Hi, everybody. How you doing? You get me for 30 minutes. Okay, just 30 minutes. Because at 10 o'clock, I have to get ready because tomorrow we have my wife's last um, chemo appointment. And so I have to get mentally and ready. But I have to. I have to. Oh, my God. I have to. Bear with me a minute. I'm still here. Oh, boy. Dropped something, and I don't know where the other one went. Lovely. Okay. That being said, hope you can hear me. That was my headphones, and one of them took a powder, and I gotta find it. Eventually I will. Okay, that being said, sorry about that. All right. Hi, everybody. So let's bottom line what we saw a few minutes ago. So Trump did a speech from the White House on the um, situation in Iran. Okay. And he was supposed to give us an idea how it's going to be persecuted. He's going to make idea of where we have gone. He was going to talk about every. I don't know what he was going to talk about. Some people thought he was going to talk about going George Bush and saying mission accomplished. But yeah, it was not that. First of all, on a physical standpoint, ladies and gentlemen, that man's sick. That man is sick. He did not look good. He looked tired. He sounded tired. He looked horrific tonight. Absolutely horrific. Um, he sounded slow and he sounded confused. And so he started with telling giving kudos to the launch of Artemis 2, which I guess that's great. And then it got better. Then he talked about the Iranian war. And to be honest, the first part of his speech would be repeated over and over again. The story they're sticking to, or he's sticking to, or this is going to be the talking point now, that Iran was developing a nuclear weapon and we had to stop them. That's his story, and he's sticking to it. Okay. Um, that's it. And that's what you heard over and over and over again about how they decimated the Iranian army. There's regime change. Um, then it got weirder. He talked about that we are the biggest oil producer in the world. Okay. And then, as the biggest oil producer in the world, we don't need the Strait of Hormuz. We don't need oil from the Strait of Hormuz. Other countries do. And you know what? Other countries should buy oil from us. And then he talked about Venezuela and how we basically control Venezuela and oil. It's a partnership done at the point of a gun. It's a partnership, and they should buy oil from us. If you watching this, any kind of gifts would be great. Please share. I'll tell you where you can reach me later on at the end of the video of the live. Well, I just had an expensive thing. Anyway, whew. But it was weird, and it was the same thing over and over again. And again, most of it surrounded Trump. You know, what he did, what they did, he built the military. Then it got really bad when he talked about the rising of the economy and the rising of prices, oil, gas. He said that the reason that they did it because the economy was perfect now. The economy was the hottest economy in the world, and this is better. Prices were going down, and there was no inflation. That came out of the man's mouth. There was no inflation. And so we could risk doing what we did to stop Iran, because he said it's an investment for the children of the future so Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. Iran was not working toward a nuclear weapon. We had a deal that President Obama set up, and then Trump said, and he killed that horrible deal by Barack Hussein Obama. God, rent-free in the head. Killed that deal, and because it was a bad deal, and that Obama bought them off by bringing billions of dollars to Iran in airplanes. I swear to Almighty God, I don't know where that came from. And so that was just a rambling piece of shit. He said nothing. He said nothing that he hasn't repeated in the last 3 weeks. And he said he was still going to bomb them, and then he threatened their infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a war crime. He has no idea of what's going on because he lives like this. His advisors and everyone keep him in his box. He does not know that the economy sucks. He does not know that Bahrain and all the people, countries he named around him, Qatar and all that, have been devastated by Iranian weapons. What we heard today was a man lost in his own world and taking us in for the ride. Now, he's had a bad day today. Has a bad couple of days. First of all, the court ruled against him and his ballroom that he can't build it. It's a little late. Knocked down the east wing. And he put that executive order about mail-in ballots ain't going to last. That's going to be dead in about a month. Trust me, he tried it before about a year ago. Mike Johnson rolled over on the TSA bill, said he's going to put it up in the House and they're going to vote for it when they get back. Probably it's going to be passing. So they're going to put that on his desk and he has to make a decision whether or not to veto it. Now, knowing that it passed the Senate on a voice vote, it's a good bet if he gets to that, they'll overturn his veto. So they'll still leave ICE out and they'll get everyone funded. But that means that Mike Johnson has turned on him. Because the one thing that he kept going is, Trump has, is that the other parts of the government, the judicial and the legislative, had just basically let him run rampant. But today, he brought his orange behind to the Supreme Court. He thought he was going to show up in the Supreme Court and basically, I'm going to show them what I am, and they're going to vote the way I want and listen to what I say. Well, first of all, dude, you walk in the Supreme Court, you ain't shit. Again, equal branch of government. You end up in the public section. And the arguments were not good for Trump. Because when you have conservative justices literally lambasting the U.S. solicitor for the stupidity he was saying, that's not going to go well. Even Chief Justice Roberts went after him. And the worst part of it is that when they were asked directly, because their point is they should have had residency in the United States, even residency in the United States, in order to, and they were born to parents who had residency in the United States, then they can be considered citizens, not if it just happens. Okay? But that's already been established in presidents, especially that one with the Chinese immigrant. Don't forgive me. I know what it is. Right? I know what happened. And so, and they kind of looked at him, they asked him, so under your thinking, are Native Americans citizens of the United States? And he said, I don't know. I mean, some tribal may not because they have their own tribes and all. And I'm listening to that going, oh, dude, that was a trap and you fell into it and they blew you up. And he left before the counter argument from the ACLU on the executive order. So it's a good bet that's DOA. He's not had a good day. And then this, whatever this was, I don't, that speech, see, when we go to war or when something big happens, the president's there to kind of pull us all together. President's there to explain what they're doing, how they're doing it. Don't panic. Everything's okay. It will be okay. We promise. This is what we're doing. Hell, even Bush under Iraq had that. And then he's listed. Then he listed all the wars that America's been involved in, basically to show that in 32 days he did what all the other wars couldn't do in those time periods. I thought that was just so weird and tacky and wow. Thank you for joining me. Again, I'll be here for another 20 minutes. Any gifts would be thank you to support my work, and also likes and share. Thank you very much. But I thought that the weirdest, it just was weird. It was just everything we've heard he said for the last few days. The idea that if you want oil, if you get oil straight or Hormuz, you should send warships down to get there and we'll help you. I mean, that's what I think everyone who watched that speech today, or that address, was just going, what was that? It was embarrassing again, embarrassing to be American. And I'm going to make a point too that before he said anything, he had talked about the federal government's role in what they do for the people. And he said that the United States or the federal government's job is not Medicare, Medicaid, is not to help people. It's basically to go to war and security. And the thing that bugs me about that, we are the fucking government. It's a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And the thing about it, what bugs me about this whole immigration thing and about this so-called American culture, unlike guys, Canadians, maybe you'll get close to this, people from other countries, they kind of have a distinct culture, okay? It's distinct for them. French culture is distinct. But America, I think this is use probably a bad analogy, but it's an analogy I remember from the movie Stripes. If you remember, it said we're mutts. America was created by people that no one else, no other decent country wanted them in. It's a joke, but if you understand it, it's a good point. The United States welcomed immigration, maybe for labor. They welcome people. That was the whole concept. And what I find ironic with all these people and talk about what is America and how America is built, if you live in any state, each state has their own culture. Hey, even better, parts of states have different cultures. For someone who lived in California the majority of his life, Northern California has a different take on the world, on everything, than Southern California, Central California too, unless you're on the other side of the Sierras around Placerville and there. Each one brings different cultures, and then it gets even better. And then the ethnicity of every of every person in the States, being Hispanic, Black, Asian, you name it, puts their own spin on it. That's the thing. We are not a monolithic culture. What we are is a conglomerate of many different cultures in states. Understand, with cultural anthropology, culture is everyone's reaction to how to survive in an area. So when you live in a certain place, you kind of devise certain things to live. That's the way anthropology works. So the United States is kind of like that because everything's different. If you've lived in different states, if you travel to different states, you can feel it. Okay, but what ties us together is the one thing that our forefathers put together is the Constitution. You have to understand, America really is the Constitution. We just have a different take on what the culture of America is. The Constitution says we have all these rights. We have a right to pick our leaders. We have the right not to be abused by the state. We have rights of due process, habeas corpus, free speech, all that. That makes us uniquely American, even though we have a different take on all of it. And the problem we're having right now is that these Christian nationalists under the Heritage Foundation do not like diversity. They despise the idea that everyone can have a different take on America and a different idea how it works. They hate it. Why? Because you can't control that. Okay? Because their idea of Christian nationalism, their idea of religion, all that, like any right-wing religion, it's tied to control. Okay? It's simple as that. That's what's going on right now in this country. And those who are on the lower end, and again, that's a culture. Now, there's economic issues with upper and lower class, and those people voting against their own interests, but that's a totally different discussion overall. Okay. That would take me another 2 hours, and we could debate that till the cows come home, and until the end. The cows come home and they become steak. But in the sense that Trump was talking about, like the federal government is some entity unto itself, is wrong. We're the fucking federal government. Each one of us is the federal government. The federal government is just there to facilitate other programs that we pay into, to make sure the Constitution is followed in every state, to make sure that justice is for all Americans with the Department of Justice, that the Secretary of Treasury and the Treasury help build an economy that all states can be part of individually and together. Again, the example I make will be, I always will never forget. If you haven't seen Ken Burns' Civil War documentary, please try to find it. It's hard now. You might find clips on YouTube, but it's a definitive documentary on the Civil War. But the most important thing I never forgot about that was the ending. And one of the historians were talking about the effect of the Civil War on America. That before the Civil War, people referred to the United States as R, referring to the individual states. At the end, it became the United States is one country. And I think the problem we have right now, especially with the far-right Christian nationalists and all that, they have so perverted the idea of what America is for their own gains. They've so perverted those of us who are Christian for their own gains that we have gotten lost in what patriotism and what America is overall. Because America is not one huge monolith. We are a collection of many different that we build, stitch together to become strong. And That's not woke. That's not crazy. That's the truth. In my mind, it's what I grew up with. It's what I believe in. I think that's the best thing for all of us. No, I don't think the experiment has failed, Southern Comfort. I think what it is that we let someone convince us of what we are not. And now we have a man who has decided that he is king. And I'm now referring to the MAGA people as the one brain cell cult because they have no idea other than they're going to hang on for dear life at this point. That's it. So I'm going to kind of wrap this up. I just wanted to pop on because what we saw today was indicative of what we're going to deal with. We have a man who has no idea what he's doing. And the only thing that's going to happen is that we're going to have to hold on for dear life. Now, the thing about it is things are starting to fall apart on him, so he's panicking. And the Republicans are panicking. And so in the end, we're going to win this thing. And we're not going to win this by physical force yet. I don't think we're going to get there. It's just that we're watching them fail. Incompetency working every day. The incompetency of the people around him. And that's working for us because they're bad at what they're doing. And so, in the end, you saw what happened. That ain't good. You got no business in Trump after Harrison Biden. Yeah, I do, Southern Comfort. You know why? Because I know what a president is, and he isn't. Bye. See? All they care about is what was in the past. They have no idea. One brain cell cult. One brain cell cult. No idea. So, if you get anything from that word salad of a frickin' 20-minute whatever, is that they have no idea what to do. Let's see, they need to change the channel, that narrative, Joe Biden. I know. That's all they got. Because it's like, and he brought up Obama. It's okay. They're not selling the narrative. And I'm going to close on this. Trump went out there and did nothing. But before his speech, the president of Iran released a letter. And he talked about the relationship of the United States and Iran. And he brought up that we had a good relationship until we overthrew their government in the 50s and put in the Shah because they wanted to nationalize their oil industry. That's a fact. And the reason you had the Islamic Revolution is because they were trying to get rid of the Shah, who was a freaking monster. Okay, look back at some pictures of Iran in the 50s, early 60s, early to late 50s. They were a modern society. They were a democracy. And they got sold out because the oil companies didn't want to share their money. And that led to everything right now. It dominoes forward. Led to the Islamic Revolution in '79, take over the American embassy, the installation of the government under Ayatollah Khomeini. They only had two leaders, Khomeini and the other guy they killed, Khamenei. Okay, now they have a third one who is the son who has a kind of a bone to pick with us because we kind of killed his whole family. But the point being is everything that's happening is our fault to an extent because we caused it. And now they're trying to sell us the narrative that we're trying to, by causing all this death and destruction, we're preventing Iran from hurting us. We know that's a lie. I know that's a lie. You know that's a lie. But they're going to perpetuate it because it benefits them. Because Trump still, the distraction's there. He can lie about the economy, but that's going to come home to roost soon. So what we saw today was the Iranians sending a letter that sounded reasonable and well thought of, and the response from the United States president as a rambling set of words from a very disturbed and sick old man. You heard Trump. He doesn't sound good. He doesn't sound good at all. And everything is getting tumbled up in that head of his. And tonight, who knows what he's going to do. I mean, he woke up tomorrow morning and say, hey, and put troops on Carg Island. We don't know. And that's the hardest thing about living in this American purgatory. We don't know what they're going to do next. But we have to stay vigilant. We have to keep doing what we're doing. We are winning the war slowly. And you can see it in the special elections. You can see it in how Congress is reacting to them. Little by little, we're taking it back. So we just have to stay firm and basically call out this bullshit. Because no matter what the far-right talkers are going to say, we all know what we saw. And I saw a very disturbed old man trying to sell nothing to us. Not even basic American. Good one, Raymond. The good die young. Trump is the crypt keeper. The only problem is I thought the crypt keeper was kind of funny. He had some clever stuff. But yeah, Trump is something I don't get. And as he gets older and gets more demented, it gets worse and worse. And that was the example today. I can't, I mean, when the Iranian government sound more lucid and more reasonable than the United States government, there you go. And the thing about in that letter is the last note, they acknowledge that it's not the people, it's the government. And also, let's face it, they also said that we tied ourselves to Israel, which is a bad move. Bad move. And we're paying the price for it. So, woo! I expected a lot. I expected something, but that was not it, to be honest. That was, when did Israel become more damn evil? When their security made them who they hate. Where their fear of the other made them become just like what created Israel in the first place. That's what it is. They literally became the mirror image of those who basically persecuted them. And they don't see it because they still think they're in the right, which is that's what every fascist does and every racist. It's pretty simple. Sad, isn't it? Sad. I mean, just look at honestly. Yeah, I know. He just that's how I was born in the U.S. and go Philly, go figure. Yeah, it's totally correct. That's insane, right? And Netanyahu has been a figure in Israeli politics for decades. And look up the assassination of Isaac Rabin, the man who was an Israeli general who was trying to bring peace and a two-country solution before he was assassinated. And look up Netanyahu's ties to that. He has been tied to the Israeli politics for decades, and now he is basically trying to do Israeli manifest destiny, using American money and American blood to do so. So you just got to remember that. But if there's only one good thing that came from this war, one good thing, AIPAC's been dragged out into the light. And a lot of politicians are running for the hills because they can't deal with APEC. So remember that. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I have to call it a night. Tomorrow is my wife's last session of chemo, and then we go from there. Those of you who are inclined, say a prayer for us. I love my wife, and I mean, it's tough, but she'll be okay. If you want to follow me, again, here at TikTok, RJ12764 at TikTok. I really appreciate those guys. You guys all showed up. Thank you for any comments. I have done some videos on all this. They're up on TikTok, but if you want to support me, I'm at Binder38US at Substack. I have a paid subscription. I have 140 subscribers. I'd love to get close to 200 before the end of April. I would like to, if you do a paid subscription, it supports me. I don't hide anything through a paywall, but it just supports me. It's only $8 a month, and it helps keep things going that way. You can also follow me on YouTube at Binder38US at YouTube. You have any comments, text, if you have a reach out to me a message, 470-236-2403 is my text line. I will respond to you. I would love listening to any kind of ideas. If you want to do a one-time donation for my work, just text me and I will send you the link for PayPal. But I really, 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 really want to thank all of you for listening to this. We're going to get this, guys. We're going to get this. Because what you saw today is desperation. And this is where, in a few months, we're going to take this country back. And just like Todd Blanche said, we're going to start indicting people. That's right, brother. You called it. Thank you. You guys have a good rest of the week. Please be safe, and thank you for listening.